Yeah, I'm starting right now. 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're going. Hello, guys. This is BJ Min from HowExpert.com. Welcome to this video. This is our first special interview with our expert author for HowExpert, which basically publishes short how-to guides on unique topics by everyday experts. And today, our everyday expert, her name is Therese Batt. Okay, and I want to read a little bio about her. First of all, for you guys out there who will watch this video in the future, she's the author, by the way, of the book Introverted Expat, okay? How to travel the world and live abroad as an expat while embracing being an introvert, okay? Also, she also wrote another book prior to this, The Harris Project, which got multiple 5-star reviews. So very high quality writer and very high quality author. Okay, Therese Batt has traveled the world and knows the ins and outs of thriving as an introverted expat. When she was 20, she bought a one-way ticket to Germany, where she completed her bachelor degree, made wonderful friendships, and fell in love with the freshly baked breads. Her latest move, a transatlantic leap to Italy, where she spent the last 2 years learning Italian, attending university, and eating with the locals at Little Tutorias. I don't know how to say it, but yeah, that's what it is. In addition to her German and Italian love affairs, Therese had opportunities to observe and engage with people from all over the world, including Ireland, England, France, Austria, Sweden, Turkey, Japan, and China. Her conclusion: we're all completely different and exactly the same. So welcome to the show and interview, Marie. Thank you for coming to the show and interview.
Oh, thank you so much. It's really cool to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome, awesome. Now I'm gonna switch to 1 second as I switch the screen to.
Sure.
I was gonna switch the screen to the. Okay, first of all, let me first of all ask about who you are. How, like most people, you're from America, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're born in America. I'm just curious, like what's.
Yeah. I was born in Buffalo, New York, not far from like Niagara Falls, Canada. So I was born in there. I spent the first 20 or so years, just as you know most Americans do, and I went to college and really wanted to become fluent in German. After 2 years studying German at college, I decided to go to German, and I lived there for a year. I had a wonderful time. I came back to the States, and I always just kind of went to Europe. Didn't happen for another 10 years or so. I then met a wonderful Italian guy who wanted to go back to Italy, where he's from.
Oh wait,
I joined him.
Sorry, but you met him. You met him in where? Mm-hmm. America?
Yep, I met him in New York. He was working abroad in the U.S. And when he decided to go back to Italy, I decided to over here. So I've been in Italy on and off for a couple of years, and you know, still learning how to navigate as an introvert. But it's getting better.
Now, wasn't it kind of? I mean, honestly, most people, like I heard most people, I don't know, they just live and they die where they're from, basically, you know. But you moved out of the country. Like, wasn't it kind of scary doing that the first time you did that?
Yeah, it was. Like, if I'm going to be completely honest, it was terrifying, but at the same time, it was super exciting. And I feel like those two emotions are very similar. So it was maybe difficult to tell which I was feeling. Was I terrified or was I excited? And I think it was just something in the middle. And I think something overrides your fear. And I think that's just how it is. You are terrified, and you know, deep down, do so. You just kind of face it and just go with it.
So basically, that's a very good point. Like, fear and excitement are similar, you're saying?
Yeah, totally. I feel like at least in the body, they feel very similar to me. So, you know, it's like okay, I can choose to say I'm afraid, or I can choose to say I'm excited. I mean, either way, I'm going to feel the same. So my idealistic approach.
Right. And I would think like in the world, and I consider myself an introvert as well. Like, you know, like
Okay.
I feel like the world is always saying like the extroverted people can do a lot of these things like traveling, you know, but what would you give advice for introverts out there who want to travel the world like yourself and be an expat? What would your basic tips would be?
My first tip would be just ask yourself why you want to do it. You know, like if it's something you really, really want to do, like deep in your gut, then that's all the validation you need, first of all. Like, but if you're doing it because you see you like aspire to be like another person, then that might not be the right motive. You know, like I think there's so many like travel blogs and entrepreneurs who 4-hour work weeks and they're traveling the world. And it looks really enviable, but if it's not the right life for you, it won't work, you know? So the first thing is, if you really want to do it, do it. You know, your introvertedness is actually going to be a bonus for you. The other thing I would say is, if you have the choice, you know, like if you can choose the country, you know, like for example, if you have a job that's transferring you as an expat, you don't really get to choose your country. But if you're gonna like teach English somewhere, or you just want to travel, I think you can kind of do a little research to figure out the countries that would really, really support your introverted nature, like Germany, Japan, France, perhaps, the North European countries. I think those are wonderful places where an introvert can feel like very easily at home. You know, and the thing is, introverts, I think, like to kind of do research, like to dig deep. So you won't just get on a plane and go. You will think about it for a long time. And I think that can really help you prepare yourself for the move.
Now, you made a really good point when you were saying there. I wanted to point out, like you said, it's a bonus being an introvert when you're traveling over the world. Like,
yeah.
Can you explain what's the advantages? Because we always hear the advantages of being an extrovert in the world, you know?
Yeah.
But what's the advantage of being an introvert when you're traveling all around the world and you don't even know their language? What is it from your perspective, from meeting people, other expats as well?
Yeah, I think, well, it's true. Introverts, they love solitude because it helps them feel energized. And if you are traveling to another country by yourself, you are going to be alone.
Right.
And this isn't scary for you. It's actually what you need. And it allows you to be super observant. It allows you to be creative. It allows you to be very sensitive to your surroundings. And that is so important when you have a completely new surrounding to like live in. You know, you will be able to pick up nuances that perhaps an extrovert wouldn't pick up as quickly. Not because they're not like as smart, it's just because they're not tuned in as much. Because they're more social, they're more activated, they're more turned on. The introvert is a little more inner, you know, their world is inside. So I think, you know, being creative, being observant, being sensitive, being someone who can create really unique solutions, I think those are really wonderful traits. But especially introverts as an expat, because you will need those. You will need those characteristics when you're living in a completely new culture, perhaps alone, with a new language to learn. So,
right, awesome. Right. Another question is, I would assume like you're going to a new country, you don't really know their language as much, you don't know anybody. Like, how do you? What are some tips to introverts out there to make friends? Because it may be a little bit more difficult when you move to another country.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Like, I don't want to like pretend like it's not. It's hard. A wonderful tool is a website called Internations, where you can network with other expats. You can go to meetups. You can find people with similar interests. And I know that kind of sounds terrifying for introverts, but I've done it and I've survived, and I've actually met some really wonderful people.
Wow, so this is worldwide? This is people worldwide use this?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm sure wherever you are as an expat, if you create an account on Internations and you find your city, you'll find people. So that's a really great thing to do. Another tip I would say is to do like a language exchange where you can perhaps just one-on-one, so not a big group, just one person where you can take turns practicing the language. Another really cool tip and super easy to do is if you like coffee shops, which are, social places, but not places where you have to be social. If you go like every day get a coffee or a tea, you can slowly, maybe not friendships right away, but at least acquaintances where you're familiar with people, people know you. And it can just be a really nice way to ease into society, just kind of like put yourself out there, but not, be part of the show. Like here in Italy, we go to, little places in town pretty frequently. And, I'm not big on small talk, but, it's very nice to have people that you can slowly call your friends. It takes time, especially as an adult. It takes time, but it's worth it. Every little hello, every little, how are you, and things like that. It sounds very, very simple, but
do you say hello, or do they say hello to you? How does it, as an introvert, do you say it first?
It depends. I mean, here in Italy, I find people are very like talkative, very loquacious. So they usually beat me to the punch, which is fine. But it depends on the culture. But and I think it's the energy you bring. I'm quiet and people know that, but I think they also sense that I'm happy to see them and that I'm happy to be around them. And I feel welcome. I really feel welcome, even if I'm the quieter one.
Yeah.
It works. Yeah.
Now, another question I have is like going to a country like Italy, for example. You're American, and people out there who want to travel the world. Did you have to learn how to speak Italian? Another language?
Well, yeah, I'm learning it. I'm still learning it. So yes, I find
knowing the language fully, you can still. Yeah.
I think so. I think it's easier if you're in larger, more like cosmopolitan cities. For example, if you're in Rome or Florence or Milan, you're to get by without English. When I go to Florence, for example, I hear so much English, I almost forget I'm in Italy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but where I'm living, it is very in town, and there are not many English speakers, maybe one. So yes, you do have to learn the language, I think, for moving to Italy, but it's not too bad. It's like anything else. You just have to. Sorry.
Oh yeah, you mentioned you met a lot of people from Ireland, England, France, all these countries. You met a lot of other expats.
Yeah.
Are they fully fluent in other languages? Because that's, if I wanted to travel, for example, like I would be worried, like I don't know the language. How could I survive? I only know English. Is it okay for an American person just to go there?
Well, it depends. I mean, if you are just traveling, like, maybe a month in Germany and then a month in France or whatever, I wouldn't put so much pressure on yourself to become fluent. Obviously, that's probably not possible, but, buy a little pocket dictionary. There's so many apps that you can use, like on your phone. I make the effort for sure, but I wouldn't say don't go because you don't know the language. But living in another country, where they speak a foreign language, then I think it's in your best interest to, invest in some books. And, you don't even have to invest a lot of money, but you do have to invest like your time and your commitment, because YouTube channels that offer free lessons, and in those cases, if you are planning to spend like a year or more, I think it really would help you to learn the language, because that's how you communicate, and we need human connection. So yeah, that's
Another
what I would
question
say.
I would think of, what people will want to know is like financially, going to another country, like looking for a job and whatnot. What do most expats do for work?
Well, it's interesting. What I'm finding in Italy, that most expats, if they've moved independently, like without having a job move them, the majority of them are starting their own businesses.
Oh.
So many of the people I meet here are entrepreneurs, coming up with really creative businesses here for themselves. I myself, I'm a freelancer. I chose to do that only because, at this point, I don't think my Italian is fluent enough to like, bank or, things like that. And I love the writing and stuff like that. So that's kind of what I've chosen to do. It's also a job that travels well, which is kind of what I've done over the last couple of years. So that's what I've noticed. I would also just say, for anybody who's interested in, moving to another country and working in that country, definitely do your research about different kind of visas, because the residency permits and the visas can be very complicated, and they can put some restrictions on how many hours you can work, what kind of jobs you can have, the kind of working contracts companies need in order to hire you. It gets very, very complicated. Complicated for me here. So that's just something I would say, do your research, check out the consulate websites, and that can kind of help you know in advance and maybe your options.
Okay, final question. If you were to tell other introverted people out there who really want to do what you do, but they're like afraid, and like, what would be your final piece of advice that you want to share to jump over that line and do it?
Oh my gosh. I would say you've already spent a lot of time thinking about it. You've already probably thought of tons of worst case scenarios. So now just do it. Just do it. You can always go back. You can always go back. Home will always be there. And that's really what I tell myself. It's like, you can go back. You can go back. And it makes me feel a lot better. And it doesn't make me want to leave. It's just, I think you can put so much fear into the future, especially when you don't know what's ahead.
Yes.
But that's why you just have to go. So I would say, you've already thought about it. You've already ruminated. Just go. And if you hate it, then come back. But I bet you won't. I bet you'll love it.
Wow. Wow. Awesome. So thank you, Marie, for being on this interview for HowExpert. I appreciate you for coming here and contributing to HowExpert for Introvert Expat. And for those of you guys interested in this book, there will be a link below this video. You can click on the link below the video to check out our ebook and paperback book. She also has a freelancing job. So I'll put your Upwork profile, if you have a link, in this description below. If you guys are interested in freelancing, hiring freelancers like her. She has she's an author, writer. So that's about it. So thank you, Marie, for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was great talking to you.
All right, take care.
Bye now.